weekly community update. Today is Tuesday, March 1st. Wow, February just went flying by. We will call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak. Again, pressing *6. It's very important for all others to remain muted. So I'd like to welcome everyone. Very briefly, let's do a commissioner's roll call. Commissioner Bell, are you with us this morning?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. And Commissioner Scar?
Good morning, I'm here as well.
Good morning. So I know things are at a hectic pace at the state legislature right now in the short session. Let's turn directly to the Coastal Caucus and get them on their ways this morning. Who do we have from the Coastal Caucus?
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Tillamook County. David Gomberg here. I'm not sure if any of my colleagues were able to join us today because we are indeed in the final stages of this 5-week session. We're in the 5th week of a 5-week-long session, and all of the committees have now shut down, including Ways and Means. All of the bills that are still moving are heading toward either the Senate or the House floor. We are actually scheduled for 10 hours on the floor today, tomorrow, and Thursday, hopefully being able to wrap things up. So let me drill down just a little bit on a couple of items I think of particular interest. The first is, and Commissioner Yamamoto, you and I were chatting about this briefly before the formal meeting started. One of the last bills that came out of the Ways and Means Committee late last night is the end of session reconciliation bill, which is sometimes called the Christmas tree bill because that's where all of the projects for local infrastructure and other unique local needs are clustered. It's a bigger bill than usual because of all the federal money that we've got to spend. Last week, I told you that I had been asked by the Speaker of the House to join a work group with 3 Republicans, I was the only Democrat, to come up with a plan for dispersing $100 million in infrastructure money around rural Oregon. And by the time we got that package put together, there was $20 million, $20 million up and down the Oregon coast. I know you're anxious to hear what that means locally. I don't want to steal any thunder from Representative Weber, so I think I'm going to have to hold until next week. I'll tell you that the bill is out of committee and heading for the floor, and nothing is final until the gavel comes down and the bill is approved and signed by the governor. So I'm going to make you keep waiting for the specifics, but I'll tell you again, $20 million in the bill up and down the Oregon coast, and the Central Coast did really well. Today is going to be a critical day in this 5-week session because in just about an hour, the Ag Worker Overtime Bill will come to the floor of the House. And I'm expecting it's going to be a long, detailed, and passionate debate today, complete with a number of different procedural motions to try and make some changes. I will tell you that bill has been negotiated through all 5 weeks of this session. Now coming forward at the very end, there are a number of accommodations in that bill. Principal among those, your Coastal Caucus worked very hard to get an exclusion into the bill for employees in our dairies. Now there's going to be some paperwork involved there, and the local dairy owners I've talked to seem more troubled by the fact that they have to do increased paperwork than they are the fact that they have to pay the increased wages. I'll tell you that it's an imperfect process, and I think that we got as far as we were going to get, and I'm very pleased that we were able to help out Tillamook County's primary industry. Speaking of primary industries, we've also got the Forest Accord package, which is moving forward. That's a long negotiated and debated set of changes that are going to affect forest practices, which include preserving jobs in the forest, but also making sure that we increase our setbacks, address herbicide, pesticide spraying, keep our coastal waters a little bit cleaner, and protect them from runoff as well, while we're protecting forest industry jobs. That was a delicate compromise worked out by the advocates. I know not everybody is happy with it, but I still think that what we've come down to is what I refer to as the Oregon way, where everybody gets something and nobody loses everything. And I tell people, after 35 years of marriage, I've learned that compromising isn't losing. This is a set of very delicate compromises, and the bill is on the move. So we're going to be wrapped up here by next Tuesday morning and be able to give you a post-mortem on the 5-week session. But there's lots going on. I think the biggest news is not going to be policy, although people are certainly concerned about forest practices and about expenses for our farms. But the big news is going to be about money, and there's a lot of it being spent on water and wastewater, a lot of it being spent on public buildings, ports, airports, and a whole lot of money being spent on homelessness and affordable housing. So I'm going to take my breath at this point and excuse myself to get to the meeting that I stepped out of. I hope one of my colleagues is here to be able to add a little bit to the brief report that I've given you today.
Thank you so much, Representative Gomberg, for being here. I know how busy you are, so thank you so much. Do we happen to have anyone else from the Coastal Caucus with us this morning? Everyone is in meetings, I take it. So again, Representative Gomberg, thanks so much for what you do. Does anybody have a quick question for Representative Gomberg? Thank you, sir, for being with us, and we wish you the best of luck in this last week of the special session.
Thank you so much.
Short section.
We'll report Tuesday morning.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. Okay, moving on. Let's go back a step. We have a report from Adventist Health. Eric Swanson. Eric.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
12 patients in the hospital today. No COVID patients. No patients boarding in the emergency department. 9 surgery cases scheduled today. All are elective or non-urgent. Yesterday, ambulance did 9 911 transports, no transfers, and no transports home. The number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 across Oregon is 479, which is no change from yesterday. But when I reported to you last Tuesday, there were 741 hospitalized, so we're definitely trending the right way. There are 84 COVID-19 patients in intensive care unit beds, which is 4 fewer than yesterday. 46 of those patients are on ventilators. There's 861 ventilators available across Oregon. There's 110 available adult ICU beds out of 668 total, or 16% availability for the state. In the region, we also have 16% availability with 56 ICU beds available. And there's 383 available adult non-ICU beds out of 4,258, or 9% availability. In our region, we have 126 adult non-ICU beds available, which is 6% availability. If we look at Dr. Peter Graven's COVID forecast that he published on the 24th, on the 24th, there were 528 people hospitalized with COVID-19. All regions are showing consistent decreases in hospitalized patients. As of the 22nd, 19% of ICU beds had COVID-19 patients in them statewide, a drop from 24% the previous week. And 22 children were in Oregon hospitals with COVID-19, which is a bump up from the week before, but still much lower than our peak on February 3rd of 43. And he also notes that that he believes that the data is showing that deaths have peaked as well. So we're moving in the right direction with COVID hospitalization. So with that, unless you have questions, I'll go back on mute.
Thank you so much, Eric, for being here. It's a great report. Glad to hear things are moving in the right direction. Any questions for Eric? Eric, thanks again. Moving on to the Tillamook County Community Health Center. Do we have Marlene Putman and or Ed Colson?
Yes, good morning, Commissioner Yamamoto. It's Ed Colson here.
Good morning.
Good morning. So our community update for our COVID-19 case report. Just we want to continue to thank the Tillamook County Library for our partnership because they are supporting us with iHealth COVID-19 rapid home test kits that are available at all Tillamook County Library branches. In regards to our COVID-19 data, COVID-19 cases are declining in Tillamook County. Our weekend case count from February 24th to the 27th was 10. Our 7-day case count from the 20th through the 26th was 32. Our previous 7-day report was 66. Our 14-day case count from February 13th through February 26th shows 98. Our previous 14-day report was 166. And our total cases for February through the 27th was 334. In total, since March 2020, at the start of the pandemic, we've had 3,506 cases and 58 COVID-19 related deaths. Our hospitalizations were 135. As far as our outbreaks per OHA, we have 3 reported outbreaks, 13 under monitoring for a total of 16. Now our 7-day test positivity rate per OHA from February 20th through February 26th was 7.9%. Previously, it was 12.7%. As of February 27th, of those aged 18 years and older living in Tillamook County, we've had 80.4% have initiated the COVID-19 vaccination by receiving at least 1 dose. 74.2% have completed their primary series, and then 44.3% have received an extra dose of their COVID-19 vaccine in addition to completing their primary series. So with declining case rates and hospitalizations across the West, California, Oregon, and Washington are moving together to update their masking guidance. So after 11:59 p.m. on March 11th, California, Oregon, and Washington will be removing mask requirements in community indoor places and in schools. With state policies do not change federal requirements, which still include continued masks on public transit, airplanes, airports, and in healthcare settings. Now, we will be receiving and expecting additional guidance from both Oregon Health Authority and the Oregon Department of Education by tomorrow, and we will post that on our website when we do. Our COVID-19 testing and vaccinations, due to the decreased demand, the walk-in vaccine clinic at the fairgrounds has closed. COVID-19 testing and vaccines do remain available for most healthcare offices in Tillamook County, including at our main clinic at 801 Pacific Avenue in Tillamook. So appointments are required for both testing and vaccination, so please give us a call at 503-842-3900 to schedule. So while COVID-19 vaccines are the best method of prevention, reducing disease spread and reducing disease severity, if you do have a positive test, there are safe and early treatment options available for COVID-19, including antiviral oral medication. Some treatment options need to be started as early as 5 days from the date of the positive test. So please contact your provider as soon as possible for treatment options. If you do not have a healthcare provider, please call Adventist Pharmacy at 503-815-2341 to speak to a pharmacist and consider establishing care with a healthcare provider as soon as possible. Information on COVID-19 testing, treatment, care, and vaccines is available on our website, tillamookchc.org, or by calling 211. And if you have any other related questions or need additional support, our public health nurse line is available at 503-842-3940, and calls are returned within 24 hours. So that's our community update there. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Commissioner.
Well, thank you, Ed. Appreciate that report. Again, it seems things are moving in the right direction. Do we have any questions for Ed Colson? Ed, thank you for being here this morning. Let's move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Gail Nelson. Gail, are you with us?
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Just a similar message to last week. We have hired our transportation driver, Ron, and are offering patient transportation to those who have challenges getting to and from their healthcare appointments to see one of our providers, including naturopath, doctor, family nurse practitioner, or our acupuncturist. We have received our allotment of COVID tests and N95 masks, have been distributing since a few weeks now. If you know anyone who is homebound and needs any of these items, please let us know at 800-368-5182. Any questions or concerns, our staff can be reached at 800-368-5182. And that's our message for this morning. It's positive news. that our cases are declining. Very, very happy to hear that.
Thank you so much, Gail, for being here this morning. We do appreciate it. Let's move on to the Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Frank Hanna-Williams. Frank.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hey, good morning.
Frank Hanna-Williams, Director, Tillamook Family Counseling Center, Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. I'd like to just bring to your attention that this is the first day of March. We're in, March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. And that's sort of a national and a local observation. And the Oregon Health Authority estimates that close to 3% of Oregonians experience problems with gambling, both moderate and severe, and that those difficulties and those problems center around a number of things: relationship challenges, financial instability, loss of productivity, and negative impacts on their health. During the month of March, we'll be actually coming to the Board of Commissioners meeting tomorrow to around a proclamation for acknowledging March as Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and there will also be some information, some radio spots, some messaging in the community to highlight this concern. So, if you, I just want to give you a little bit of information on that, and also to say that if you have any questions, concerns, either about problem gambling and the services that we provide here in the community, or any other behavioral health concerns, we can be reached at 503-842-8201.
Frank, thank you so much for that. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Take any questions if anyone has any.
Perfect. Do we have any questions for Frank? Thank you, Frank, for being here. Appreciate it very much. Let's go to the Sheriff's Office. Do we have Sheriff Brown with us this morning?
Good morning to everybody.
Hey, good morning.
So I don't have a whole lot to report on. I thought I'd share some stats more than anything this week. I tried to make sure that I was passing along some stats to everybody as they listen to this, every so often, and I haven't done that for a while, so I thought I would share some stats. The stats are specific to this year, to 2022. So starting on January 1st through the end of February, of course, today is March 1st, so we're 2 months into the new year, and the 1,936, so just shy of 3,000 calls for service that the Sheriff's Office has handled. We've conducted 338 traffic stops. We've responded to 71 disturbances. We've responded to 49 calls that are in regards to harassment or an assault of some sort. We've had 10 search and rescue call-outs. As you can imagine, that's just a little bit more than one per week. So that's, even search and rescue with this weather has been busy. We've responded to 67 motor vehicle accidents or recreational accidents so far this year. Couple other stats I'd like to share is our arrest stats for the year so far. We've had 86 arrests made. Now, those arrests are a combination of physically in custody and bringing them to jail, as well as cite and release. I'm sure that everybody is aware of the status of our jail, or if you're not, then you know that, our count of people that are in jail right now is very low. A lot of the officers within Tillamook County have been unable to bring people to jail because of the pandemic. That being said, I'm very closely watching and waiting for what the state guidance is on congregate living. What I can say is Tillamook County Jail is one of the few, if not the only jail in the entire state of Oregon that has not had an outbreak of COVID. We're pretty proud of that. We're pretty pretty strict on our cleaning guidance and what we're doing. We are making exceptions in some scenarios to bring people in, but we've been very good about taking care of our facility, and I would like that trend to continue. So we are anxiously awaiting guidance on congregate living, and we're going to be watching that closely because, of course, the community deserves to have people held accountable when that is necessary. The other stat that I'd like to bring up is specifically in regards to the ordinance for parking, and actually specifically Cape Kiwanda. I know that there's especially in South County, there's been a lot of question marks about that. What I can say is when that was implemented, my directive to staff was, we're not going to be able to sit down there and focus a tremendous amount of energy on parking, given our call volume, our short staffing, etc. But the directive was, when you have time, go in there and take some enforcement action on cars that are not paying that fee. We all know that that lot is filled with tourists, and that fee is designed to help offset some of the infrastructure and public safety costs that we incur because of tourists. And what I can report is so far this year, the sheriff's office, in the time that is allowed, they have written 142 citations for failure to comply with the fee. Like I said, that's something that has been probably on the back of people's minds for a while, and I wanted to share that stat. Beyond that, I don't have anything else, and I can field any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate that so much, especially the parking situation in Pacific City. That's just going to help us get to a new deputy position in South County. We really do appreciate that. Do we have any questions for Sheriff Brown? Thank you, Sheriff, for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Let's go to emergency management. Randy Thorpe. Randy, I think maybe there's some minor flooding going on in Tillamook County right now.
That's what I hear, is that we are having our typical last of the year, hopefully, flooding here in the county. Checking the charts I just checked, Nehalem and Wilson are still in flood stage, but they are trending down, which is a good sign. There's been no evacuations of any of the RV parks or other areas yet. We do have all the lanes on 101 covered up by the Blue Herring, and also standing water on Highway 6 under the train overpass. ODOT is monitoring both these locations this morning. I talked to them, and they said they're monitoring them, and as soon as they feel the need to close the roads, they will. But at this time, they're still open. But again, extreme caution. If you want to, go through the water areas, just be careful and be safe. And if you don't feel safe, turn around and take an alternate route. So I checked with our people in the north and the south. Just some minor flooding in our north areas, but nothing major at this time. So hopefully the weather will cooperate and the rain will let up and the waters will recede.
So, Randy, I'm not sure you ever expected to be this busy as emergency manager in Tillamook County, but welcome to Tillamook County.
Yeah, it's been it has definitely not been boring. So it's been quite a ride so far.
It's gonna get better from here, believe me.
Looking forward to the summer.
There you go. I love it. So I bet you we've got Gordon McCraw with us also. Gordon.
Yeah, indeed you do, and I'll be happy to give the weather wrap-up. Good morning to you. So, we still have a flood watch until 6 p.m. today. That's basically for Tillamook County and Northwood all the way into Washington for all the rain that's been coming down. There's also a coastal flood advisory from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's because we are in a somewhat high astronomical tide period. High tide today is at 11:29, and the level's 9.2 feet at Garibaldi, which is the gauge that I've been using forever and ever. Because of the winds and the seas, there is a 1 foot anomaly added to that. So the actual level will be more like 10.2 feet. And then throw in the rivers are already at a higher rate because of the rain that we've had. And so that's why you have the coastal flood advisory. During these typical conditions, you'll see flooding in areas like on Resort Drive, down in Pacific City on Fraser Road there west of Tillamook. The water will come up again around the Fern and Papa Murphy's in the right-hand lanes if they were dry. I'm hearing now that they're not, so it'll be a little slower coming down in those areas. And of course, sometimes you get some flooding in downtown Nehalem, but they have a way to get around it. The rain did set a record yesterday for Astoria. They had 2.98 inches. The previous record was 1.4 inches set in 2013. There were several other records set, but they were all over in the valley. As Randy said, the rivers did climb into flood stage, and the Nehalem River hit 15.56 feet. Flood stage is 15 feet, and it's currently at 15.35 feet. That's as of 6:15 this morning. And the Wilson River hit 13.51 feet. Flood stage there is 12 feet. It's currently at 12.93 feet. And again, that was at 6:30, the 6:30 this morning reading. The Wilson River started to go down last night. And then I guess they must have had another shot of rain in that basin that pushed it up again, and a little higher actually. Both the rivers should be going down below flood around noon today, so that'll be better. The atmospheric river that gave us all this has lost a lot of the moisture feed, and that's good for us because now we're just getting spotty light to moderate rain. The forecast is for that line to drop southward and become stationary again into Wednesday, but more towards the southeast. The south and central Oregon coast will be getting it, and the National Weather Service will be refocusing their flood potential to the rivers in the Central Coast Range. We'll get a bit of a break Thursday night into Friday, then we watch for a low pressure system that's dropping down south along the coast right now anyway. It appears that it'll go into northern California, but with the steering currents the way they are, it's always a coin flip on exactly where it'll go. And the closer to the coast, the higher the winds, the greater chance of rain. So that's why we'll need to monitor that. In case you're wondering just how much rain we did get, I did some quick adding, and at Lee's Camp, between today, we've already had another inch. Yesterday, there was 8 inches of rain, 8.01 to be exact. Sunday, they had 1.45, and Saturday, they had 0.64. So since Saturday through this morning, they've had 11.1 inches of rain in the Lee's Camp area. That would definitely be justification for the higher water in the rivers. Locally down in Tillamook, the range looks like around 2 to 3 inches. So we did okay lower level, but of course the rain in the Coast Range is what gets us usually, and that's the case again. And that's your statistics on this event, which is still yet to be terminated. So unless you have any questions, I'll go back on mute.
Thank you so much for that, Gordon. And so I was concerned this morning. Everyone should know I live in Pacific City, and coming around Resort Drive, the Nestucca River seemed to be bank full to me, but there was no flooding. I didn't know when exactly high tide was going to be, and so you've just reported that high tide is going to be 11:30. Hopefully river levels will drop a little bit by then, but anyone in South County, anyone anywhere, if you're near a tidally influenced body of water on the roads, as we get closer to noon, do be careful. River levels may come up a little bit. So just wanted to pass that along to everyone. So thank you, Gordon. Appreciate that. Moving on, we have a very special guest with us this morning, and he has told us that he's going to try to make our meetings every month, the first Tuesday of every month. And with us this morning, we've got Bill Jablonski with the Oregon Department of Transportation. Good morning, Bill, and thank you for being here.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner, and good morning, Tillamook County.
Good morning.
Can you read me loud?
Thank you for being here.
Oh, sure, welcome. And the plan is to meet, and thank you for the opportunity and the invite to meet on a monthly basis. I look forward to giving a report on highway construction and everything, roads and such for ODOT. I'm very happy to give a brief presentation today and certainly take any questions. What I'd like to do is I'd like to hit the high points and the significant construction and design projects that ODOT has planned for Tillamook County. I'd like to start with US 101 through the city of Garibaldi. We are currently in design for a urban upgrades project in partnership with the city of Garibaldi. The project cost for that for construction is just northward of $10 million, and we're looking at a construction season of 2024 for that. I'm also pleased to report that we have a successful partnership with both the ports of Garibaldi and the port of Tillamook Bay on providing ODOT rail crossing funds to include rail safety crossings at both 3rd and 7th Street. It's off our system, but we're able to put money for that project as well too. And since we're in town, we might as well take advantage of and leverage as much money as we can possible to leave that town in a better condition than it is right now. It's certainly needed an upgrade, including new pavement, sidewalks, ADA ramps. We're including transit stops as well too through town as well. That'll help with pedestrian connectivity for those folks that need to get to and from Garibaldi and from their destination. So really excited about that project. It's very successful working with the city, and very pleased to report to that project today. The other one that I want to talk about is all things Oregon 6. As you know, of course, ODOT is monitoring the House bill that Representative Weber has submitted to the legislature. We get regular updates from our ODOT liaisons in the legislature, so we are monitoring that to see if and when ODOT has to provide some action on that. We're waiting for the gavel to go down and to see what conditions, what the bill entails, and the funding of that bill. Reading the text myself, I understand it is a planning study for Oregon 6, so we are on the wings here waiting to see what that bill actually will require ODOT to do and perform. So look forward to working with Representative Weber and any stakeholder groups that come out with that, and looking forward to possibly working on that planning study for Oregon 6. I do want to update everyone that we do have an active bridge coatings job on Oregon 6 at Mills Bridge, which is about mile point 5.75 on Oregon 6. That work is going to start here shortly. It's going to be a single lane closure through that section on a Monday through Thursday schedule during the day. It's a coating project, so as you know, bridges along this coastal area are subject to the condition of salt air, and so on occasion ODOT has to get in there and recoat the structure itself of the bridge to keep the integrity, so we can keep the inventory of that bridge in good condition, so we're not looking at having to do any replacements. I do want to let folks know that regardless of the House bill that comes out, ODOT is not precluded from continuing its work on the Oregon 6 issues that we know we've been talking about with the community over the last year. Some other projects I have in design right now is we have a full guardrail upgrade project at a cost of $10 million, which we've started to design on. We expect to go to construction for that project either the end of 23 or the beginning of 2024. And that guardrail upgrade is the whole entire corridor of Oregon 6, so including Tillamook and Washington County. I am trying to get a project to include center rumble strips through sections of Oregon 6. I'm trying to include the locations in another funded project that we have ongoing and include that scope in there. I'm trying to find some funding, for that as well too, and putting that in there in that scope work for that project to see if we can get some benefit of someone doing a rumble strip project, and we can include some locations along Oregon 6 in Tillamook and Washington County. Also that House bill does not preclude ODOT from applying for additional funding or grants for projects. As you might be aware, we are monitoring the slide activity at mile point 33 to 35 in Washington County. For that fix in that slide area, unfortunately, it was not selected to move forward. during that enhanced process. And so we'll continue to look for funding opportunities, especially with the infrastructure bill that is on the table. There's certainly money there available through the various grant programs that ODOT can actually tap into and apply for grant funds as well too. So even though the study, assuming it comes to fruition and we will start, that's quite a lengthy process itself on getting the study done itself, as well as going out and competing for whatever funding we have to look for in the future. So ODOT is working proactively right now to look at projects that we can get on the book and get ready to go for any kind of funding grant opportunities outside of what the study might show as well too. With that, we'll yield my time for any questions.
Bill, thank you so much for being here. Previously, in another life, it seems I was public at large on Northwest Act, and that's a great organization. They get a lot done. I know you've probably been hearing just a ton from Tillamook County and from Washington County about the condition of Highway 6, and I am glad to see, and I'm very hopeful, and I think it will. I think Representative Weber's bill will succeed through the end of session. So we are looking forward to some planning and some improvements on Highway 6. It's a especially at the top. It is a treacherous road. A lot of whoop-de-doos, and it's just tough. But again, we appreciate everything you're doing for Highway 6 and for Tillamook County, for Washington County, for all of us. ODOT, you've got a tough job. You really do.
Well, thank you. I sure appreciate that.
Do you have any other questions for Bill? Bill, again, thank you so much for being here, and we're looking forward to seeing you hopefully once a month.
All right, you bet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the Board of Commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Bell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, as we've heard, we heard from Ed, the case counts, the COVID case counts are going down, and next Monday will mark the second year since the first case was identified, the first COVID case was identified in Oregon, and I'm just thinking about that, what a long 2 years it's been, and how none of us could have imagined how difficult these 2 years would be, and all of us thought that it would end much sooner than it has, and so moving forward, anticipating the lifting of restrictions on March 12th for indoor venues and for schools, and it's just it's a hopeful time. But also, I'm thinking about this time last summer we were also hopeful when there was the lifting of restrictions before we got slammed with the Delta variant. So I'm cautiously optimistic. And I'd like to talk about the fair a little bit. Last week I'm the liaison to the fair, and I was part of a workshop of the fair board where we talked about the capital projects that we want to work on the fair. And I don't know if Sheriff Brown is still on, but he's on the fair board. He was there, and it's very encouraging. A couple of weeks ago, the commissioners approved two $250,000 TLT grants to the fairgrounds, and one is for a study to look at all the electrical services in the fairgrounds. And given that we have a strategic plan for the fairgrounds facilities, but we don't have adequate power for that plan, and so we want to have PED come in and look at the whole system with us and figure out what we need to upgrade and where and in what order in order to lay the electrical groundwork for the physical building work that'll come later. And we also looked at the pavilion, which the Fair Board has a great plan for expanding the pavilion, which is the facility where some events are held, like Bulls and Bronx, typically in the spring, and it's not big enough. And so that was really exciting. The Fair Board, we walked around out on the grounds and looked at those buildings and envisioned together what, how they could be improved and what we'd like to see. And so it's really a hopeful time with the Fair Board and at the fair, looking forward to the future. And I also wanted to mention, sometimes we still get questions about what do commissioners actually do anyway. So I wanted to mention on Saturday, it's true. I bet you get the same question.
I know.
On Saturday, I'm the liaison to Northwest Oregon Housing Authority, which is an agency that provides subsidized housing. And our housing authority covers 3 counties. So it's Columbia, Clatsop, and Tillamook County, and I'm the Tillamook County liaison. And that organization, for example, in Tillamook is responsible for the Champion Park Apartments and for the brand new Holden Creek Apartments, among others. And they have similar projects in Clatsop County and in Columbia County. And so on Saturday, the board of NOAA, Northwest Oregon Housing Authority, met for 6 hours in Warrenton doing executive director interviews. We've been without an employee executive director. We've had a contract executive director for over a year now who's done a great job, but it's really hard to hire people right now, and we've had multiple failed recruitments. So on Saturday, I was very encouraged. We interviewed a couple of people, one person from Oregon, one person from out of state. They're both highly qualified, and so I'm really encouraged that we have 2 solid candidates for that. And it's really important work. It's important to housing. It's important to our whole regional area, and it's just one of those things that I think a lot of people don't know about. So I wanted to mention it. And I think that's all I've got this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Appreciate that very much. Commissioner Scar.
Good morning. Well, first, I would just really like to thank Bill Jablonski for being with us today. I have the pleasure currently of sitting on the Northwest Act and get to interact with Bill every time at that meeting and hear the updates from ODOT. And I appreciate your willingness, Bill, to come each month and share those updates right here in Tillamook County. I think that people have a thirst to know what's happening with ODOT because our main roadways belong to ODOT. So again, thank you, Bill. Really appreciate that. Just to add to that Highway 6 conversation, I have been working with Nan Devlin at Visit Tillamook Coast looking for a location where we can put a variable messaging sign on this side of the canyon that would allow us to put some safety messages. So it's a very interesting and challenging process to find a location where a sign is allowed, where there's power for a sign, getting through the permitting process for a sign. So this is not a fast project, but please do know that we really feel like if we could just have people think one more time about safety before they hit that roadway, it would be helpful. And we are working as a county to find a spot for that and see if we can get that done. So working on our part as well in partnership with ODOT. I'm going to shift gears to clams. We work with a lot of different state agencies as county commissioners, and we rely on the state for a lot of different pieces in our county. One of those is work that we do with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And a few years ago, there was an issue that was raised regarding clamming in Tillamook Bay, and Senator Johnson at that point was able to get Senate Bill 1025 passed by the legislature, which required ODFW to set up a Tillamook Bay Clam Advisory Committee. And that committee has been meeting since June of 2020, looking at really 4 particular items, and they're beginning to bring forward rulemaking to the ODFW Fish and Wildlife Commission. So that's why I bring this up currently. But just so you understand what this committee has been working on and what section is ready to go to rulemaking. There are 4 main areas they've been working in. One is around commercial harvest in the subtidal and intertidal zones. So that's subtidal or the scuba divers we see out there with their dive flags flying, getting clams off the bottom of the bay. And then intertidal are the same places typically that our recreational clammers are clamming, and that's both just right there along the shoreline by the boathouse. It's also out on the tidal flats that come up in low tide. So that's the intertidal zone. So one of the pieces this committee's been looking at is really what are the rules there and are they adequate to protect our clam stocks. Another piece they've been looking at are vessel conflicts in the vicinity of the ghost hole. So if you drive by during salmon season, you know that we just get a really significant density of fishing boats right there in the ghost hole. And when we have clamming going on at the same time in the same area, there are just some conflicts that you can't avoid. You cast out and they're both. And so finding a way to keep those two activities separate and safe has been on the committee's agenda. The other thing that was on their agenda was just a lack of a recent clam-based stock assessment survey. The numbers that they've been working from to make sure that we're protecting our clams at an adequate level are from 2010, 2011, and so they have been pushing to get a new survey. And then the last piece of that really is the long-term sustainability of commercial and sport harvest. So this is a really important committee working on the sustainability in Tillamook Bay. And they are at a point where I think they're ready to bring forward the first of the rulemaking. So rulemaking happens with, and I'm going to click my webpage here so I get the language right. It happens with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife Commission, and so this group is putting forward a couple of different suggestions. The first one that's coming forward is at the March 18th meeting of the Fish and Wildlife Commission, and it is just around what's called an electronic e-ticket, which requires commercial clammers to report their take within 24 hours of their take. Right now they have up to 2 weeks, and so you have this delay as to when will we hit the caps that are there, and we don't know because we're not getting real-time data. So the first rulemaking is going to be to ask for a rule that says we must have real-time data within 24 hours. So that will be exceptionally helpful in just making sure we do not exceed a cap, because there is currently a subtitle cap of 80,000 pounds. And in order to know if we're exceeding it, we have to know who's catching how many and when. The intertidal zone does not yet have a cap, and they are looking at trying to put a cap there, and they expect that rulemaking will come before the committee sometime this summer, perhaps in April, perhaps in May. So it's a little tricky because they have a lot, the committee meets all day long. If any of you have ever watched one of their meetings, it's extremely long. We're super fortunate to have former Commissioner Mark Labhart sitting on that committee, which gives us a great voice. But it is a lot of work that they have to do, and so getting things in front of that committee is a balance. They're looking at issues and rulemaking for pieces that come from all around the state. So there is not yet a certain time when the next two rules will go in front, but hopefully this summer. The first rule, however, on e-tickets is on their March 18th agenda. So I will stop there. There's a lot of information. If clamming and the concern around clamming is important to you, search Tillamook Bay Clam Advisory Committee, and you can get all the information of what they have been working on for the last almost 2 years now. So good work being done. And the last thing I'll share is there is a clam survey that will be done this summer in the intertidal zone. So that's one of the fantastic pieces coming out of this extra revenue that the state has, is the ability to actually do a survey that was not otherwise scheduled. So that's really good work. Shifting gears one more time, the last thing I will share is that today is the second meeting of the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee. This meeting is taking place in a hybrid fashion. There will be some folks meeting in the library, and there will also be an online option. We continue to work to build this committee and to kind of get everybody to know one another so we can dig in and do really good work. Today's session will do a little bit of that get to know you piece, and of the existing short-term rental ordinance. So if you are available this morning and interested, I encourage you to go to the Community Development web page and find the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee page, and you will find the link to this meeting if you'd like to listen online. There will be some availability for in-person at the library, but we are still limited until, of course, mask guidance is removed and social distancing. We're trying to make sure we don't get an overwhelming number of people in that room. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to follow this online. I know there's a lot of interest and a lot of passion in the community around short-term rentals, and I really want to let everybody know that we are intending to have a good, deep conversation to really try to create an ordinance that will stand the test of time and that will really make sure that we protect our communities and create a sustainable and not overwhelming industry. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Yamamoto.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. Appreciate it so much. So, first of all, I want to remind everyone, we only had one Coastal Caucus member on this morning, Representative Gomberg. Everyone is in committee meetings, and the only reason he was able to join us is he left his meeting in order to join us this morning. So we did put him on first. Short session should be over by next Tuesday. So if you're interested to hear what our Coastal Caucus thought of this short session, next Tuesday morning is going to be a barn burner. So please plan on being here. So a few things I've been working on. Last Friday, I was on an all-day call with BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, and everyone is moving headstrong into placing floating wind arrays off of the Oregon coast. And there are a lot of unanswered questions in my mind. They're pushing things very, very quickly, and a lot of us feel that it's being pushed too quickly. There are dangers to our fishing fleet. Who's going to get the power? How much is this power actually going to cost? Last time we had an issue of someone looking at ocean energy. It was tried to push through a feed-in tariff bill where everyone's electric bill in the state of Oregon would go up by so much in order to help pay for this very expensive ocean energy. The best wind resource we have on the Oregon coast is in southern Oregon off of Coos and Curry counties. And the companies that are looking to pay for these arrays, to put them out there, a lot of them are from California. So there is a concern that jobs will not be coming to Oregonians. The jobs are going to go to California. Our infrastructure, our port infrastructure is not such that we're really able to handle these huge, huge windmills. And another concern is both California and Oregon have things that we have to do, renewable energy standards. I'm sorry, I just had a brain issue here. Renewable energy standards, and one of the ways that California could do this, if indeed a California company came into southern Oregon, they could put their wind arrays off the southern Oregon coast, disrupt our fishing grounds, and then take the lines, the cable lines, into the state of California at the northern end, bypass Oregon completely. So we would not meet any of our renewable energy standards. We would not have the jobs. It would interrupt our fishing fleet. View sheds would be interrupted. So there are just so many questions going on here. We're very fortunate that staff from Congressman Schrader's office was online, and we actually have a quick meeting put together with Congressman Schrader on Thursday. He heard about our issues, and he wants to know exactly how he might help us. So that's a good thing. I think all of you know that from our last Tuesday morning meeting, I was in Washington, D.C. mid-February talking about the BIOP and broadband and communications. One of the meetings I had was, of course, with Congressman Schrader. Another one was with Senator Ron Wyden. And he directed his staff to get in touch with me after some conversations, and they did right away. As a matter of fact, last week we had kind of a very short notice meeting with Fritz Graham from Senator Wyden's staff, and he brought out one of the D.C. staffers for Ron Wyden, Rachel Lang, and she wanted to talk about broadband in Oregon. So she knows that I am the Oregon Commissioner Representative to OBAC, the Oregon Broadband Advisory Council. So we had a great discussion last week about broadband, and I am hopeful that with all the money being thrown around by our federal government, that we're going to get our fair share here. They're very pleased with the way that Tillamook Lightwave has been interacting with all the other counties adjacent to us to develop a real robust fiber backbone for Northwest Oregon. So I'm very hopeful there. Of course, I continue to talk about the biological opinion, the NOAA Fisheries FEMA BIOP, which is going to have disastrous effects to Tillamook County. And I think we're making some real progress there, which is good. Everyone keep your fingers crossed. One of the other issues that we talked about, of course, as you know, as you've heard us talk before, We're working on a new communication system for Tillamook County. Our system is over 20 years old. It's got a lot of flaws in it. It's very expensive to maintain at this point. Parts are becoming almost impossible to find. We have so many dead spots. If you talk to our ambulance service or fire and rescue, sheriff's office, police department, they all know kind of where these dead spots are, and they're very reluctant to pull people over in those dead spots because they have no communication. So this new communication system we have plans in place, shovel ready kind of. It's a $20 million project. We've got everyone on board, all the fire districts and cities, and we're doing a great job. Rachel Haggerty is doing a great job of making sure everyone understands what we're doing and why we're doing this. But a $20 million hit is a lot of money. It is my hope, and I think we got some great buy-in from Congressman Schrader and Senator Wyden that they can provide us some help with not only broadband but with our new communication system, so we don't have to go to the public for $20 million. If they can cover half of it or more, I think that would be just a terrific deal for Tillamook County. So I will stop there. And so do we have any questions for any of the Board of Commissioners? Hearing none, let's move on to the cities. So the city of Manzanita, I got an email yesterday from Mike Scott. He is unable to join us this morning. However, we have Council Chair Linda Kozlowski with us this morning. Linda. Linda, I'm sure I saw you online, so and you are unmuted, I think. Linda, I do see you're unmuted, but we are not hearing anything from you. So tell you what, there are times when this happens. I know you're logged on. So if you can log off and log back on, that may resolve your audio problem. In the meantime...
Well, can you hear me now?
Hello? Yeah, there you go. Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. I just have a couple of things. Thank you. It's really nice to be here. I just have a couple of things to report from the city of Manzanita. We have just finished our salary survey. We do a comprehensive salary survey every 5 years before budget time. We have just completed that, and that will be presented to the council of this next council meeting. We have hired an architect for our new city hall. We're really excited about it. I think it's going to really happen. So there's good progress on our new city hall. And probably most exciting of all, we have our first annexation request in a long time, and that's coming up pretty soon. And we are working very hard to incorporate workforce housing in that the new development. So that's all good news. We're really pleased, and everything else is going well.
Linda, thank you for being here. That's great news from the city of Manzanita. I love what you're doing.
Well, I'm really excited about that broadband, too. You're welcome. Thank you.
But thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's move on to the city of Nehalem. Do we have Melissa Thompson-Kiefer with us? How about the city of Wheeler? Doug Honeycutt. Are you there? Anyone from Wheeler? How about the city of Rockaway Beach? Sue Wilson or anyone? City of Garibaldi, Tim Hall. Mayor Hall, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. Bill Jablonski with ODOT kind of stole my thunder about the project going through Garibaldi. We're excited about these improvements. They are long overdue, and I think that it will be a tremendous improvement for our city. But that's all I have this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it very much. City of Bay City, David McCall. Mayor McCall, are you with us? How about the city of Tillamook? Nathan George. Nathan?
Good morning, Commissioner.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. There is the usual flood, water, and river flooding on North Main Avenue, also known as State Highway 101, and on First Street, also known as State Highway 6, underneath the railroad bridge. We encourage everyone to avoid travel in these areas until the water recedes, which most likely will be later this afternoon. The Public Works Department is actively investigating a sinkhole on the east side of Main Street between 6th and 7th Streets. This area is coned off to the public, and we ask that everyone, it's coned off to the pedestrian traffic. We ask everyone to please limit foot traffic in this area until the issue is resolved. The Public Works Department is busy trying to get the water filter plant and the wastewater treatment plant back online after the recent flooding event caused high flows and turbidity. The Public Works Department is large, not only includes streets and parks, but is responsible for stormwater, all water treatment, and the water distribution system, and both the treatment and collection system for wastewater. The Public Works Department will try and complete some pothole patching and street sweeping as time and manpower allows this week. The department is extremely short-staffed this week. Also, the project over on 2nd Street between Ivy Street and Main Street is a sidewalk repair, and that's being done by Tura funds. The Coatesville Park, we ask everyone to be careful there. The Coatesville Park, located on 9th Street, has been experiencing a higher than normal amount of vandalism to the restrooms. In response, the city has unfortunately had to lock the doors until our staff can assess and address the damages. Yesterday, the Tillamook Police Department responded to a call where a driver parked inside the front entrance to Safeway. Officers deemed it a medical emergency, and the driver was transported to the hospital. And the TPD is pleased to announce today that we're interviewing 6 applicants for our current openings. The promotion process was a success at the last council meeting. Chief Rouse swore in the following officers to their new positions that they had worked hard to earn. They are Lieutenant Troxel, Sergeant Harrell, and Sergeant Hollis. The structure allows the city to have a balanced leadership team, as was recommended by the Oregon Association of Chiefs of Police when I asked them to perform an agency review of our police department last spring of 2021. It also provides a strong succession plan and ensures that the police department is serving our city in the best possible way. So essentially, the 2 sergeants are able to cover, one covers one half of the week, and the other covers the other half of the week, and they are able to make sure that all of our patrol officers now have frontline supervision at all times. All police department employees are pleased with the structure and leadership and are currently working on balancing responsibilities and workload among each as they work to serve our community. Also, the accreditation for the police department is going well, and we're looking forward to completing it successfully. Just a reminder that the service line warranties are American program to provide warranties to property owners for water, sewer, and/or plumbing for about $10 a service per month, either one of those. And you can receive unlimited service calls and repair calls. I've had some questions, people calling me in about it. It's a 30-day wait period once you sign up, and that's it. You sign up and you go, and you can end at any time if necessary, or if you decide to. Anyone with any questions is encouraged to contact the City of Tillamook or visit our website. We highly recommend you sign up for this warranty, especially if your lines are older and not recently replaced. The city has a public hearing for zoning ordinance on March 7th coming up. March 3rd, Planning Commission, on Thursday. The planned amendment would remove reference to off-street parking design standards for accessory dwelling units. Please see the city's website for more information or contact the city's planning department by phone or email. And we have our next current monthly meeting, a council meeting coming up this upcoming Monday, March 7th at City Hall. There's a work session at 6 p.m. with several topics on the agenda, and there's also a regular session at 7. Both meetings are open to the public, and we encourage you to either attend or via video conference. Although the work session is not done by video conference, that's just in person. You can get instructions for video conferencing as well as read the agenda by going to the city's website. And one final reminder, If I Were the Mayor contest 2022 is posted on the city's website. This is for our youth from 4th grade through 12th grade with different categories depending on the grade they're in. The city will be providing prizes for the best 3 local entries, including gift cards, and for the grand prize, a person gets to have lunch with Mayor Burris, as well as the opportunity to make announcements at the council meeting. The 3 entries will then be entered in a statewide contest for a chance to win up to $500 during the Oregon Mayor Association Summer Conference in Newport, Oregon. That's all I have, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Nathan, thank you for that. I love the idea of If I Were Mayor contest. I think that's great. I really do. Great program.
It is good.
Thank you for being here. Let's move on to South County. Doug Olson. Doug, bring us home.
Good morning, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes.
Yes, a couple of things this morning. I appreciate the comments about Highway 6. My wife and I returned home yesterday via Highway 6. We were going westbound, another vehicle was going east, and someone pulled out right in front of both of us, and it was a pretty darn close call. So anything that can be done to make people think about safety and their speed and what they're doing sure going to be helpful, because things happen. So number two, I'll put on my PUD director hat for a moment. First of all, Commissioner, you mentioned some things about Lightwave, and I received notice from some people that we have represent us in Salem, and they indicated there's a substantial amount of broadband money also in what they call the Christmas tree bill, which is a bill that goes through towards the end of the legislative session. And it's basically something for everybody. It's where the legislature does what they do best sometimes, is hand out other people's money. But in this case, there's quite a bit earmarked for broadband, so we'll try and get our hands on that. You also mentioned something about ocean energy, and I'll speak for PUD on this subject. Tillamook PUD has absolutely no plans of any sort to engage in any arrangement with ocean energy. And part of the reason is the winds are better down on the south side of Oregon, down towards Goose Bay, Coquille, and that way. But nonetheless, there's plenty of wind up this way as well. But all the utilities operate under something known as PURPA, which is the Public Utility Regulating Policies Act, federal act. And it basically provides that local utilities do not or are not required to take energy from any source that exceeds their current cost of energy. In PUD's case, it's about 4 cents per kilowatt hour from the Bonneville Power Administration. There's absolutely no way that you can stick a windmill out in the ocean floating or attached to the ocean floor that could generate electricity for something like that. It would probably be more in the range of 35 or 45 or 50 cents or more per kilowatt hour. But the downside of all that is laws that were written by Congress can be changed by Congress, so one never knows. But as of the moment, absolutely nothing is coming through PUD, and we're not involved with any of the ocean energy conversations, at least as of the moment. And finally, I'll put my chamber hat on. We have a meeting today at 12 noon, and it looks like next month, April 5th, the first Tuesday, we'll be able to return in person back to the Kiowanda Community Center, have a lunch meeting, and things will head towards normal. And then finally, on April 7th, which is a Thursday, we'll have our Spring Candidates Forum. We've been doing this for years and years and years, and we'll do it again in the fall. We invite candidates for the County Commission, and I believe there is one position open this year. Also for the State Senate and the State Representative, and then people who have offered a money measure to voters, and I believe there will be 3 on this year's May ballot. So all those folks will be in person at the Kiowanda Community Center on Thursday, April 7. And so all people are welcome. Come down, ask candidates questions, look them in the eye, and go from there. So thank you very much, Commissioner, for time this morning, and another great day, but it's better than the alternative. Thanks so much.
Thank you for that, Doug. And I do need to say that I've never seen the Christmas tree bill before, and you're the one that sent it to me last night, and I do appreciate that so much. It's much longer than I thought it would be. I'm only about a third through it, but thank you for passing that along. Appreciate it so much. Okay, thank you, KTIL, for broadcasting. Oh, yes, hello.
Hi, good morning. This is Cammie with the Tillamook Fairgrounds. If I could, just one moment.
Hey, Cammie, how are you? Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you, Mary Faith, for bringing some of our projects to light. I just wanted to say thank you very much. We just had our annual review and renewal of our American Red Cross agreement. So I just wanted to thank Velda Handler and her crew for coming down and doing the evaluations. And we had some good conversations about what our needs might be moving forward. And I wanted to welcome Terry Greason. She is now our new Red Cross liaison to the fairgrounds. So it's apropos, obviously, with our weather, that we just did this last week, and we just got all 3 of our agreements completed, and then they'll be sent off to Red Cross for approval.
Okay. Thank you, Kemi. Appreciate it very much. So again, to everyone out there, thank you for being here, and especially thank you for KTIL for broadcasting. So with that, time being 9:10 a.m., we will adjourn this community update. Thank you, everyone.